Tonight, a focus on election integrity continues here in Arkansas as Attorney General Tim Griffin announces the arrest of 3 non-citizens for allegedly voting in the last election. Thanks for joining us here at 6. I'm Rolly Hoyt.
And I'm Faith Woodard. The arrests follow an investigation by the AG's office and federal officials who flagged voter records that did not match citizenship status. The first case involves a Cuban woman here, despite a removal order on her record dating back to 1999. Investigators say she registered as a citizen and voted in a general election. A second case involves a Nigerian woman with conditional permanent residency. She voted allegedly last November after saying she's a legal U.S. citizen. The third, woman from Kazakhstan accused of voting in the 2024 Republican primary. Griffin says the arrests send a clear message to all Arkansans.
FTL, follow the law. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter where you're from. Doesn't matter what your political views are. If you follow the law, you're good. If you break the law, we're going to do what our duty requires.
Arkansas's Republican Secretary of State Cole Jester applauded the arrest, saying, quote, "American elections are for American citizens. Anything less is totally unacceptable," close quote. Meanwhile, Pine Bluff police are offering a $1,500 reward for anyone who can help them track down 25-year-old Thomas Johnson. He's wanted in connection to the city's most recent homicide, the shooting death of 29-year-old Jamie Epperson on September 23rd. Detectives say Johnson is considered armed and dangerous.
88 was the high at the Little Rock Airport this afternoon. That is 8 degrees above the average for this time of year. And temperatures right now are still warm. It's 88 in Russellville, 87 in Arkadelphia, 90 in Texarkana, 88 in Monticello, and 87 in Searcy. There have been a few isolated showers bubbling up with the daytime heating as a weak disturbance in the upper parts of the atmosphere scoots its way through. But these showers are really starting to fall apart now. We're seeing that sun getting closer and closer to the horizon, so they're not going to stick around very much longer. The strongest one is this downpour pretty close to Mena. So Mena, you could get a downpour for a short amount of time. Here in central Arkansas, I think we're dry. We'll see mostly clear skies, temperatures settling down into the 70s around 10 o'clock, and lows tonight to begin your Friday will start off into the low 60s. It will be turning less humid as well, and we'll hang on to low humidity for your Friday, but temperatures will still be warm. Highs back up into the mid to upper 80s, and the warm weather sticks around for the weekend. I'll have more on that complete forecast coming up.
We haven't wanted to negotiate. We just want to keep the government open. That's been the Republican and the Trump White House position since the very beginning.
The deadlock over federal funding continuing in Washington on day 2 of the government shutdown. The White House says they want to keep things open. But Democrats are holding firm on reversing cuts to Medicaid and extending subsidies for the Affordable Care Act, which are expiring at the end of the year. This shutdown will continue for at least another day. There's no vote scheduled on Capitol Hill tonight. Of course, it's the observance of the Jewish holiday Yom Kippur. But they will vote once again on Friday on a short-term spending bill to fund the government through mid-November. So far, roughly 750,000 federal workers have been furloughed since the shutdown began. As the shutdown continues, Congressman French Hill is sharing his thoughts on the actions taken by federal lawmakers. Here's what he had to say on our morning show earlier today.
What a disaster it is. It creates disruption in services for our citizens. It creates uncertainty for the employees that work for the federal government or for a state program that's funded by the federal government. And it's unnecessary. And so I would encourage all those people to call the minority leader in the U.S. Senate, Chuck Schumer, and tell him to vote to open the government, because that would be a big help. Representative Hill voted with most of his Republican colleagues for the House funding bill 2 weeks ago.
And shutdowns reveal unexpected ways we interact with the federal government. And we found another one today, school lunch programs.
Yeah, keeping kids fed is always a challenge, especially for big city districts like Little Rock's. They're keeping a close eye on families who count on those programs, and THV11's Maya Ellison found out how the shutdown just adds to their concerns.
Here at the Little Rock School District, officials aim to ensure every child has access to healthy, clean meals, no matter the circumstance, and even through a government shutdown. The message is still the same.
We want to be able to feed every student in our district. Every school in Arkansas wants to be able to do that.
At Little Rock School District, catering to 20,000 students puts a lot on their plate, like making sure no child goes hungry and even introducing ways for students to eat free.
We are actually feeding all students in Arkansas at every school district, charter school, universal free breakfast.
That's thanks to SB 59. According to Governor Sanders' office, the bill repurposes medical marijuana tax revenue to fully fund the program.
And so we are a USDA program. We are entitled to state and federal funds. Our funding comes from the taxpayers. The National School Breakfast and Lunch programs are entitlement programs, and so our funds are pretty much guaranteed.
And that guarantee even puts them in a decent spot during the government shutdown, leaving them less worried.
There is this thing called carryover funds that are guaranteed to school districts and to our meal program particularly. And so we're not really worried about how it could affect us. We have food, of course, for October. We are now doing our menus for November.
The district is also thinking ahead. Inside this warehouse, no shelf is empty.
We have started contacting our vendors, and as long as we have our space, we will bring in what we can.
But through their work to keep students fed, there are questions that leave district officials concerned.
The only thing that I've been concerned about is what we're going to do for those families who are going to be affected by this.
In Little Rock, Maya Ellison, THV 11 News.
Maya, thank you. The head of the tourism agency in Hot Springs is trying to let everyone know the Spa City is open for business and then only a couple of places in the national park are closed. Most of Bathhouse Row is opened. They're private businesses. Notably, though, the Fordyce Bathhouse Visitor Center is closed, but trails, campsites, they're still accessible for the most part. And Steve Arison from Visit Hot Springs says federal workers are helping by volunteering at this busy time of the year in the city and park.
Thank goodness for the national park employees that said they'll come in and work without a paycheck to let all this happen for us, because, you know, big time of the year for us, the fall in Hot Springs.
Other popular spots in Hot Springs that are still open, we mentioned most of those trails, including the Grand Promenade and especially those hot water fountains. That's especially popular for campers.
And don't forget, you can stay up to date on all the closings across Arkansas by heading over to THV11.com. There we've got an article covering the very latest as things continue to develop.
Governor Sanders announcing tonight that Google is making a multi-billion-dollar investment in Arkansas as the tech company finally went public as the builders of a data center in West Memphis.
It will be on 1,100 acres and could take around 2 years to complete, eventually hiring more than 10,000 workers. Similar data centers are approved in Conway and Little Rock, but the companies behind them have not yet gone public with their involvement.
Researchers at UAMS and the U of A Fayetteville have completed what they're calling the first statewide health survey. The initiative drew 10,000 participants and spotlighted aspects like maternal health, chronic conditions, tobacco use, and behavioral health. Researchers point to chronically low scores when it comes to national health rankings. Information from the survey will be accessible online next year and will get help from even more state schools to analyze the data.
And with all the business growth Little Rock's South Main Street has seen in recent years, more traffic on the road is causing some safety concerns. A lot of times when people are walking or riding their bikes in SoMa, cars are whipping by above the speed limit. It's why neighborhood business and city leaders joined together this morning to announce a new traffic calming project going into effect on 15th and Main. Starting tomorrow at noon ahead of Fiesta in SoMa, some temporary improvements will be installed consisting of new medians to narrow lanes and slow traffic, painted bike lanes, and added greenery. One cyclist says he thinks it will make a big difference.
Whether it's a family on bikes, whether it is an individual on bikes, there is just little regard to safety of those cyclists. And so this initiative will just kind of encourage drivers to slow down a lot more and just make them more aware of the people and cyclists and pedestrians around them. And just by better design, we'll keep them safer.
Right now, the Slow Down SoMa project is planned to stay for 2 months, but there's a possibility it could become permanent. The Downtown Little Rock Partnership asks you to test out the intersection for yourself and take an online survey afterwards to share your thoughts. We have it linked in this story on our website, THV11.com.
The turning point death of 14-year-old Emmett Till sparked a national movement for change. Now, a new interactive exhibit in Little Rock
lets visitors explore his life and his mother's courageous fight for justice.
And we are going into a busy weekend here in the capital city. Tomorrow, the International Greek Food Festival, after being gone for a few years, returns. We'll see mostly sunny skies, a high of 87. It continues into Saturday. Also, Harvest Fest at Hillcrest will be taking place on Saturday. Lots of sunshine, but it will be warm. I'll let you know if there's any cold fronts in my 7-day forecast coming up.